Take your hands and bring them to one side. Let's start with the left side, while keeping your body straight. So walk your hands out to the left side, in my case the left side, and pull down with your right hand so you feel a stretch all along your entire side body. Take 5 deep breaths in every single stretch. So once you get your 5 breaths, walk your hands to the other side and do the same thing. Pull down with your left hand, keeping both hands planted down, and feel the stretch all along your entire left side of your body. Bring your hands back into center. And now this time, keep your hands as close together as you possibly can. And we're gonna stretch our lats and shoulders out. How you do this is you bring your head down and then you pull down. It's like you're pushing into the ground and pulling the ground towards you with your hands to stretch open your upper back and your shoulders. And at the same time, try to keep your ears in between your biceps. So for example, focusing on making sure that your shoulders are both even when coming down onto the ground. Once you get your 5 breaths, same thing on the other side. Bring your right arm forward, take your left arm, thread it through, and try and bring both your shoulders even down towards the ground. And if it feels comfortable for you, maybe bring your head all the way down to the ground. The next one we're going to focus on is, instead of on the outside of your shoulder muscle, we're going to focus on the inside, closer to your pectoral muscles. What you're going to do here is get flat onto your mat, take your right arm and bring it out and place it flat onto the ground. From here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to slowly and gently lift up your left leg and kind of scorpion back until it touches the ground flat. And from here, you're putting a lot of weight into your shoulders and stretching it open. Relax your head. Maybe bring your left arm onto your hip. If it feels good there, leave it there. If you feel like you can go more, then try and just let your arm float around and see how it affects your body, how it affects your stretch. Maybe wrapping it, binding it around your low back. Or even if you can, try and reach for your right hand with your left hand and interlace your hands. My range of motion is not there yet. If all that feels good, you can just lay here, opening that muscle up. 5 deep breaths. When that feels good, slowly lean back into your left side. And this time, bring your left arm out and repeat it on the other side. So left arm is straight, palm facing down, and then bring your right foot up, open up, okay, and you're just gonna lean back into your shoulders. You can feel like your upper shoulders here are being super stretched out. If you can go back evenly, or you can lean to one side, left side, right side, and you can feel like a super stretch in those areas. If this feels good for you, you just stay here. If you want something more, what you can do is you can lift your hips a little bit, keep those arms stretched out, and then start to bring your head back and stretch out one side, the other side, maybe both sides, keeping even pressure there, stretching your shoulder blades out. Take your left hand and bring it behind your back. Take your right hand, bring it over your head, and try and grab your hands, or try and reach for your hands. But the goal here is to keep your arms as straight up and as straight down as possible. It's not about reaching your hands, it's just about getting the right posture. If you keep it, by keeping it straight, it really opens up your shoulders, your elbows, your forearms, and also your triceps overhead. Here, something to keep in mind is don't try to lean forward so much, but try to keep your chest up and straight as possible. If you can't reach your fingers, it's okay. Grab your shirt and pull down onto your shirt, or maybe use a strap or a bottle or whatever is accessible for you. Once you take 5 long deep breaths on one side, switch over. Bring your right arm back, left arm overhead, and try and reach straight down. This pose can be really hard. It can even be really painful. I remember it being really hard for me, so something you can keep in mind is to take deep breaths, try and clear your mind, but if you can't, just let it out. You know, yell, scream, breathe really loud, do something crazy, because it feels good just to let it out, you know, and get into the right position. What you do is take both your hands, put them onto your knees, and lean forward, kind of creating like a 90-degree angle with your elbows. And what you want to do here is you want to dip your elbow, dip your left shoulder down in towards the middle, and rotate your face up towards the opposite side. So I'm gonna dip it down, look to the other side, and you feel like an entire stretch along this side of your body. 5 deep breaths there, and then bring it in the other side, stretch it open, look up, left. And bring it back into center. It feels really good. Maybe do the same side again and repeat. However many times until you feel like you've opened up your shoulders. I like to use a block for this exercise, so you should try and get something that is at least a shoulder width distance. So you can, maybe a water bottle will work, or a pillow, or whatever. I like to use a block, it's perfect. You're gonna start by keeping your palms face down, and then keeping your thumbs in an L position on the block, okay? And the goal here is to make sure that your forearms are as flat as possible onto the ground. And you want to try to keep your hands also as flat as possible onto the ground. That way your shoulders are rotating inwards, which is hard for us climbers because all we do on a daily basis is, or whenever we're climbing, is we're strengthening our shoulders in the opposite direction. I like to use a block for this exercise, so you should try and get something that is at least a shoulder width distance. So you can, maybe a water bottle will work, or a pillow, or whatever. I like to use a block, it's perfect. You're gonna start by keeping your palms face down, and then keeping your thumbs in an L position on the block, okay? And the goal here is to make sure that your forearms are as flat as possible onto the ground. And you want to try to keep your hands also as flat as possible onto the ground. That way your shoulders are rotating inwards, which is hard for us climbers because all we do on a daily basis is, or whenever we're climbing, is we're strengthening our shoulders in the opposite direction. So you have to be very intentional in trying to keep your forearms flat, your palms flat, and your hands as flat onto the ground as possible. From here, if this is just hard enough, you can just stay here for 5 breaths. If you want something more challenging, then try and lift up your hips as high as you can and straighten up your legs as far as you can. So, doing it like this, just show you that for 1 second. Once you get into that, you're going to want to relax your head and try to keep it in between your biceps, like we did in the earlier exercise. So lifting it up and head down, and you want to try and bring your head past your elbow, past your shoulders, past your biceps. So you're really stretching open your upper back muscles and your shoulder muscles. The only thing about this is it takes a lot of strength to hold yourself up and a lot of core to keep in that position. So for something like this, try and hold the position for as long as you can. Generally be like 3 to 5 breaths. So I'll just show you for example. One thing that tends to happen in this pose very frequently, even for me, is when I'm lifting up, my elbows, they just want to explode out that way. So something to keep in mind is to try really hard to keep your elbows planted down flat into the ground and at a shoulder width distance. After doing that for a couple rounds, we're gonna do the next variation, which is keeping the block there and then taking your hands and reaching, make sure your palms face up. So same thing here, you want to keep your elbows planted down into the ground at a shoulder width distance, and you want to try and bring your thumbs all the way down onto the ground, so rotating inwards. Same thing here, once you get that position or as close as you can, lift up your hips past your shoulders. And I can already see my elbows are trying to move outwards. So just readjust when it feels too far out and get back into the position. Here, where your back foot is flat and it's facing and it's perpendicular to your front foot, which is pointing forward, okay? So you're in a pretty stable position. You're gonna bend your forward knee 90 degrees, making sure that your knee doesn't go past your feet, okay? So making sure that everything is structurally aligned. And from here, you're gonna take your left hand and reach it behind your body and try and wrap it into your right leg, okay? If this feels like a lot, then just stay here. You can keep your elbow locked like this if you don't want to engage your leg muscles. And the goal here is to pull this left shoulder back as far as you can, using your hand as leverage to pull it backwards, and bring your gaze up towards the sky. Brings your gaze up towards the sky, and this will really open up your left shoulder and your left side body. If you feel like you can go more here, we're gonna get into a bind. Take your right hand and bring it through your legs and reach back for your left hand. Grab that hand, interlace those fingers. This really strengthens your right leg. And you want to do the same thing. You want to pull your left shoulder blade back, opening up your chest, gazing up towards the sky, actively opening up your shoulders. Stay in this pose until you feel satisfied, and then switch onto the other side. Left leg forward, right leg back, 90 degrees. Same thing here, take your right hand, bring it behind your body, and stay in this pose. Pull open your right shoulder. That feels good. Take your left hand, thread it through like this. Reach for that hand, pull open your shoulder blades, gaze up towards the sky. And relax when that feels good.